Good morning, all. This is Jack from Charlton Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 24th of September. My disclaimer: I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take somewhat of a day, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay. Let's have a look at ES, where I've got to say this is a historically weak period. I was calling out all the numbers last week, and so far we've not seen an awful lot, apart from a decline yesterday after the Fed commented that people shouldn't be counting on any more rate cuts this year because of the current level of inflation. So we've seen a bit of a decline. We've seen a rally overnight. I'm thinking this may go lower, possible head and shoulders forming here maybe. I'll talk more about this on the RTH charts because I do tend to take the RTH patterns more seriously than the futures ones. In the meantime, though, no current negative divergence and no immediate prospect for getting any possible head and shoulders forming on ES. On NQ, we've got a possible head and shoulders as well. I've just published a post on crypto this morning, by the way, where we've been having a pretty good retracement that has been going as planned, oddly, as I was expecting it to go down in sympathy with equities. But actually, I'm calling for a rally there, so I'm wondering about possible high retests, maybe in sympathy with that, and that could set up some nice looking double tops, and we'd still have time within this window into the end of September for the possibility that those might play out. RTY, very nice looking potential double top here. That could play out directly from here. We will see. YM possible. We might be looking at a head and shoulders pattern forming here, really, but really it would be cleaner if we just did a high retest and set up a nice little looking little double top. DAX, now this is an interesting one because actually we've got a pretty decent looking falling wedge here, and obviously on the bigger picture those tend to be bullish. So but I am thinking that if we see a break up from here, or even if we don't see a break up from here, we could see a retest this low, potentially set up a double bottom. And I am thinking that after any retracement we see here, if we do see any kind of significant retracement on equities, then we're probably going to be going up afterwards, and we could be setting up for that. On ESTX, we've got a nice looking little rising megaphone here, and we've got a lovely little double top, which could deliver. And waiting to see, wouldn't be that surprised to see another retest this high before it did so. A weak 60-minute sell signal has fixed. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, on SPX, obviously we lost the daily negative divergence, which wasn't altogether a surprise. On ES, that was still surviving on Sunday, and we've lost that too in the meantime. We are testing a decent resistance level up here in the 6,700 area on the SPX chart. In terms of trend lines, we've not quite reached this one here, which is my main resistance trend line, not far above, maybe 67.10, 67.20. Still wondering if that might be reached on this leg, and really it's a decent resistance trend line. That doesn't mean it's got a hold, but it means it's got a good chance of holding. We've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed here, which I'm thinking might make target on the hourly, possibly after another high retest. On the 15-minute chart, no current positive divergence. We've got a pattern here from the September low and another pattern from the August low. The August low one, waiting to see where that lands, and that could be it, of course. I've had a look at that this morning, I think, and I wasn't finding any particularly convincing trend lines using this as a high. Do we have anything? No, we don't. Not really. So we will see how that goes. I mean, this could be an overthrow, but then again, this is a channel. You don't tend to get overthrows on those. Shorter term, though, on the pattern from September, this is a nice little overthrow. Sorry, this is a nice little rising wedge, got up to the obvious target area. So I am wondering if we might see a retracement here, but this wouldn't be a very large retracement. This would be a modest retracement. Okay, as I was saying in my post last week. On the Qs, we have gone significantly higher. No current negative divergence on the daily. Hourly chart, we lost divergence as well. We're not close to the obvious resistance trend line here. I've got that up in about the 610 area at the moment. So we're not, even though we've had a pretty nice run up, we're not getting close to that so far. On the 15-minute chart, we've got another pattern from September. And this latest move could be a little bearish overthrow of this rather nice resistance trend line. Do we have a possible alternate resistance trend line? Which by eye, I can tell you that's probably not. I think it would be from there, if we would say it. No, I don't think so. But this could be an overthrow, and it's a nice little wedge from the September low. If we were to retrace, then ideally we'd get back to 581, 582 area, and we could be forming a little pattern here. We will see. Obviously, the further time goes on, then hang on, wait a second. The more time passes, and the more we progress through this window, the less likely we are to see anything particularly interesting. But we will see how it goes. So bear with me a moment. I'm just going to, sorry, I missed these when I was going through changing annotations this morning. There are currently no signals here. All right, moving on to Dire. Okay, Dire, we've got nothing on the daily chart apart from the RSI 14 sell signal, which has obviously been fixed for a while. Nothing on the RSI 5. We've gone a little higher. Same trend line here. No. I've moved it on. This was my preferred trend line here, and we have actually gone up a bit through it. This could be a bearish overthrow, or we could be going still higher. You've got to remember, of course, that IWM and Dire could just stall while the Qs and SPX continue up. That's happened pretty regularly. On the chart from the with the pattern from August, again, we're looking at a possible bearish overthrow. We will see. We don't really have a pattern worth the mention, I don't think. Actually, I could be wrong about that. Wait a second. Sorry, just let me examine the lines. I don't think we've got a clear pattern from the September low. And hang on, bear with me. And we don't really. So sorry, I was just checking the possibility. But we've got a nice clear wedge from the August low, and this could be a bearish overthrow. Could be setting up for a retracement here, but at the moment, I'm not really seeing any retracement patterns worth the mention. And that reduces the probability that we're looking at anything particularly interesting. All right, in terms of IWM, we've still got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fix. That has survived. The RSI 5 sell signal we had did not. No current, a little bit of possible weak RSI 5 sell signal brewing here. I haven't bothered marking it in. It's not particularly impressive. In terms of the hourly chart, though, we have gone to a very nice resistance trend line that I had marked in, and that's now a 3-touch resistance trend line. We have a very nice looking rising wedge from the April low here. Possible double top within that, not quite as nice as the one on the RTY chart, but I'm wondering about topping action here, and it could be that we could see this top out here, even if the Qs and SPX powered by AI enthusiasm go higher. Particularly, IWM is the one seen as most vulnerable to interest rates not going down. Although I've got another issue, which I'm going to be writing more about, which is that actually interest rates being cut by the Fed doesn't actually mean that practical interest rates that are being paid by people and companies actually do go down. But there is a general perception that obviously it does mean that. So that is the perception that people are going with. Perception is often more important than reality. All right, on the 15-minute chart, we got a pattern from August, and it's a rising wedge. It could be overthrowing, but it's not as nice a pattern as the one we've got on Dire. All right, DAX has been testing the daily middle band and holding it so far. I'm leaning towards this holding for a little longer. We will see. And Nikkei reached my trend line, overthrew it very, very slightly. Do we have some negative divergence here? Really small, too small really for me to mark in. But we've got a tiny bit of negative divergence here, and we've reached the obvious resistance trend line. So I am wondering about a bit of retracement here. All right, let's move on to DX. Now, DX, we had a sell signal here, which made target, came back tested the weekly pivot, and we've got a buy signal here, which has brought us up from that. Now, the two main options here are we could retest this high here, set this up a double top, and pull back a bit more. or we could continue higher. But as I've been saying, there is a distinct possibility we're looking at a very serious low on DX here, and I'm quite liking that for divergence and pattern setup reasons. Not a lot to see on the other ones really. USD is, well, will follow the inverse of what DX does really. It's we didn't quite make the retest of this high on GBP USD, which I was hoping to see. No obvious reversal pattern here. USD JPY heading up with DX at the moment. USD CAD the same. Not an awful lot to see on the currency pairs, but let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. Alrighty then, right, looking at the US dollar monthly chart, obviously on the bigger picture, I was talking from a high in 22 about the obvious next target was down here at the megaphone support. Now, this is, we hit that, then rallied, and then broke it very slightly on the retest. So I think really this is topping out. But the question is, how's it going to top out? The obvious way is with the bull flag, which is very obviously here, setting up a retest of this high. We've now got on the retest a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing on the monthly. On the weekly chart, we've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed already, and we've got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed already, and this low retest has given us a potential double bottom. That double bottom, I've marked in the arrows here. If we see a sustained break over 100.26, obviously very well supported by bigger picture buy signals, then that would have a target in about the 104.25 area. That would get us pretty much halfway back from this low to this high here at 110.18. Actually, I think that would be very close. So I'm just going to put in a little thing there to see how close that is, and that would be from, okay, yeah, sorry, I've got that marked in already. Move that down to 96.22. All right, I mean that gets us almost up to the 50% level of this move down from 114.78, and it gets us, in terms of the move down from 110.18, where does that get us to there? All right, there you go. Bit closer, but not exactly on it. All right, so I'm thinking the odds of heading back up to 104 here are pretty good. We got this lovely little falling wedge here that's broken up. We've got double bottom formed, 38.2% to 50% area for retracement. This would be a very good first leg up, possibly, and I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening, even if we fail to get back up to the retest this high here at 114.78. We will see. No current divergence on the daily chart, but on the monthly and weekly charts, it's looking pretty damn promising at this stage. So this is just a larger view of the same one. Obviously, you can see we've broken this declining resistance trend line from the rally high at 100.26. I am liking this higher. So in terms of the bigger picture, can it get back up to a retest of 114.78? Well, I'm not seeing an awful lot of reason to think that, well, I'm not seeing the administration doing an awful lot, which is terribly supportive. But I do think that the talk that the administration was responsible for this move down is overblown. The fact is, the administration came into power and this fall down happened, and people were linking one to the other, but they always do that. It doesn't mean that one really had, well, correlation is not causation. And what I would say is that given that I've been looking for this target to be hit since early 2022, late 2022. This wasn't necessarily really correlated at all. So we were a few months ago up at 110. All we've got to do is get back up from there to 114.78, and we have the bull flag playing out and making target. It isn't a million miles away. In terms of the euro, we've got a matching bear flag there, and it's very nice. On GBP, we've got a matching bear flag there, and that's very nice too. Although, to be honest, we've not made the retest this high here, and I'm a little doubtful about it getting all the way back to this low, because this low was generated by having an probably incompetent prime minister, which and I'm doubtful about it getting all the way back down here. We will see how that goes, but we've got a very nice looking bear flag in any case. And euro is the main one to be watching here, I think that's 57.6% of the US dollar index, and I really like it. It's good. It is nice, and I'm thinking we might still make it. I mainly tend to. I keep an eye on the news, but I mainly tend to watch the pattern setups here, and this is a nice pattern setup. We will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at bonds. Looking at the ZB chart. Right, looking at the ZB chart, we've been seeing a bit of a rally here. We had a weak 60-minute buy signal. We reached the possible near miss target, and we could be forming a little IHS here, pull back for a right shoulder and go back up higher. But to be honest, with the natural direction is, I think, down, and with the Fed announcement yesterday, then even more so. It is down, and we've got open head and shoulder targets. Sorry, double top targets below, and I've got those. I've got the minimum target there, really, in about the 115.25 area, and the extended target down in the 115.10 area. I'm thinking that's still got a decent shot. On ZN, we had a 60-minute buy signal fixed, and that one hasn't reached the possible near miss target. Possible little double bottom here, waiting to see. But we'll see how that goes. Let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And on TYX, we had an RSI 5 buy signal, suggesting we were about to see a move up in bond yields and a move down in bonds, and that's reached the possible near miss target. We may get no more from that, and we're also testing the daily middle band here and the 200 DMA, and so far, well, those are obviously very decent resistance, and so far that resistance is holding. All right, looking at the daily chart on TNX. Again, we had a buy signal. Again, it's reached the possible near miss target. Again, we tested the daily middle band, and again, that's holding so far. It may continue to hold, and we can see another move up on bonds from here. If we are going to see a move down on bonds from here, which really I wouldn't be astonished to see it all, then we're going to need to see a break up over these two daily middle bands. In terms of the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed on the hourly chart at the moment, and that is providing some pressure to the downside on yields and the upside on bonds. On TLT, on the daily chart, we had, the daily chart, we had an RSI 5 sell signal, and that's reached the possible near miss target too. That may be as far as it goes. And again, we tested the daily middle band, and that is pretty good support. On the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fix, which is providing some short-term impetus to the upside. We will see how that develops. What are the prospects for bonds going lower? Well, one thing I was saying was that looking at all of these charts, I was thinking the next low here, which would be a high on bonds, obviously, might well give us more clues about where this was going, and I didn't get much in the way of clues in terms of this low. It may be that we're going to go lower, and then that low will give me more to work with. So not ruling that out by any means. What I would say, though, is that so far the Trump administration has not been doing anything to improve the confidence of bondholders holding treasury bills. So we've been kicking around near the highs for quite a while here. That may well continue. And honestly, if this continues and they don't start being more fiscally responsible, which there seems currently no particular prospect that they will do, then I wouldn't be surprised to see this break up. And obviously there is a pattern to do that too. We shall see. All right, great. In that case, let's have a look at oil. Okay, oil. Bigger picture, I'm still leaning towards the downside. We've been basically trading in a range sideways. We're getting up towards the top of that range at the moment. In terms of negative divergence, we do have a possible, since I was looking at this earlier this morning, we do have a possible 60-minute sell signal break, and we're going through the monthly pivot, which has not been a solid support or resistance level so far. HO, we saw a pullback, seeing a rally here, 60-minute sell signal fixed. RBOB, we've got no current negative divergence, but again, pull down, rally, and wondering whether we're going to see a retest of that low or possibly lower. NG, I'm still wondering about more downside here. We did retest this low, but we've rolled into the November contract, already, and we've not quite made it to the ideal target. I'll talk to you about that on the daily chart, but I am wondering about lower. I'm thinking we're going to retest this low here at 3.85, and I am wondering about lower from there. So let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. Alrighty. Okay, on the bigger picture on oil, obviously, as I've been mentioning every time, it's we've got these falling wedges which have broken up on the oil, on the heating oil, and on the gas oil charts. These are those are all broken up, and I'm looking for reversal patterns to deliver a decent rally in oil. Now, I have to say, one thing I was thinking about, and I'm going to be talking about in a post in the next few days, is that actually the whole of the oil market's probably only got another 5 to 10 years of being a real market before really being overtaken by cheaper and better and cleaner renewable energy. But at the moment, we've still got a real market. We're up at highs for worldwide usage ever. I'm thinking we could see a really decent rally here. I'm just wondering if, looking at the bigger picture, whether this might be the last one for quite a while. We'll see how that goes. I'll be talking more about that in a post coming out over the next few days, where I'll be looking at these patterns and thinking about the implications. But these are suggesting the next serious move on oil is going to be up. But I'm thinking we may well retest this, ideally to set up reversal patterns. We would come back and retest these lows here. I've got this at 56.06. If we reach this trend line here, then I would redraw this wedge resistance trend line to show this as unbroken, and then we'd need to break up through it again, but we would have a nice looking double bottom. And I'm thinking if we break up from that double bottom, then actually that would have a target in about the 102 area. That could be a very, very nice move. No current positive divergence for that on the monthly. No immediate prospect for getting it either. We're not close to it on the weekly chart either. On the daily chart, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal that's reached possible near miss target. We're holding the 50 DMA as resistance at the moment, and not challenged the 200 DMA for a while. I'm still leaning towards seeing the retest of that low, and I'm leaning towards seeing that in the relatively near future. In terms of the pattern setup here, we've been going sideways. There isn't really a pattern setup worth the mention. We would need to make a lower low or break up from this to give us anything really to work with. In terms of the heating oil chart, no divergence there on the monthly chart, no divergence there on the weekly chart either. We've really been going sideways for quite a while. That isn't something which generates a lot of signals. We've still got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed on the daily chart. That could fail, but I'm still leaning towards seeing more downside in it. We will see. In terms of the daily chart, we've just broken back above the daily middle band, and we're testing the 50 DMA, which I have to say has broken a couple of times recently, so that's not been particularly solid resistance. We will see. We are holding the 200 DMA as support so far. That needs to break to give us a retest of this low here at 2.188, or ideally to come back down here and retest this low here at 1.937. Okay, looking at gas oil, no divergence here on the monthly charts either, nothing on the weekly. Now, I'm pointing these out because on a big move, I do like to see confirmation on the weekly and monthly charts for a solid move up, and I am noting that we don't have those here. So we do have a nice pattern set up, but on US dollar, we've got very nice support from the bigger picture RSIs. Here, we don't have that. We've been going sideways too long. On the daily chart, no current divergence. All of this looks like a bear flag forming. That bear flag resolves, I would expect to resolve into a retest this low here at 1.855. Okay, looking at natural gas. Natural gas, we're now in. We're testing the monthly middle band, and obviously we'll wait to see how that closes at the end of the month. But I am wondering whether we are going to see a breakdown from that later in, starting at the end of the year. But in the meantime, we are in a strongly bullish period. We've now rolled into the November contract, which I think moved up prices like 25 cents or so. We are not that far away from a retest of this low here at 2.653. Now I've got, where do we have the close here at 2.87? That would be a moment. All right, this is still in the October contract. Everything else has pretty much moved over to the November, but this still, at the time of writing, is in the October contract. The best time to retest this low here at 2.653 is right now. before that contract roll, because this is likely, this is the spot chart. Won't necessarily have a huge impact on it because this isn't a continuous futures chart. But ideally, we would be retesting that in the next couple of days. In terms of where we are on the bigger picture charts, I've got all the various contracts lined up here. In October to November, we basically, at the moment, we've got a rise of 28. Then into the contract in December, then we go up another 60. Into the contract in January, we go up another 26. This is a big move up over 3 months, and this is the seasonal move up at the end of the year. Expecting that to deliver in the absence, so I'm thinking we're going to see a rally over the next 3 months. After that, I'm kind of leaning towards the downside again. And I would note that this nice looking pattern here is a likely bear flag megaphone. And if we see the move up to 4 here, that would still be a lower low under this high here at 4.588, and would be a decent setup to go down again. Might even qualify as a double top, although I think it's a bit oversized. We shall see how that goes, but that's the way I'm leaning here, so I'm not really expecting to see any downside here. What I would caution you against, though, is thinking that this rise in a buck is easy to go long on, because it isn't. If you basically go on the futures, that means that it needs to go up a buck just for you to get your money back. That's not a great looking long. It is likely to push the price up, and I've been watching the 200 DMA here, which I've got currently at 3.82. In terms of the daily chart, no current divergence. We had a sell signal, that's made target, and I'm wondering about obviously that last little push down to retest this low here at 2.65 and set up a nice looking double bottom. We'll see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at metals and GC. Okay, GC, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed here. We have pushed higher. I am seeing a lot of negative divergence here, and that could deliver, won't necessarily deliver, but it could deliver a larger retracement here. Am I seeing any reversal patterns? No, not at the moment. SI, possible little head and shoulders forming. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed there too, but I'm mainly looking at the daily charts. On Palladium, I was expecting to see a retest of this high. We've almost managed that, but not quite. 6-minute sell signal fixed there too. Platinum, I was looking for a retest high, and we got it. No current negative divergence. HG, we had a buy signal that made target. We've been kind of lost in space here since all the tariff drama around this area here. But this all looks like a bear flag, and sooner or later, I'm expecting it to deliver a retest this low here in the 4.38 area. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And okay, gold. Gold, we've got some negative divergence on the bigger picture charts here, but you can see we're pretty close to losing that, and we may well lose it on the monthly chart, having already lost it on the RSI 5, having already lost it a few months ago on the RSI 14. On the weekly chart, we lost it on the RSI 14. We're pretty close to losing that on the the weekly chart. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal brewing, possibly on the weekly chart. We've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, but we may lose that on a move much higher as we've had a hell of a run. And we could lose that. But on the daily chart, I've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing, we've got a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and a possible full size one brewing. It's a nice setup for a retracement here if you're just looking at the RSI. It maybe we'll just push up through it, and that would happen pretty regularly, but I am wondering about the prospects for retracement here. On silver, no divergence. It's if I was showing you the weekly chart going back up this long, you'd see an amazing run. So I might dig that up at some stage to show you. But these kind of uptrends can last quite a while. I was saying a couple of weeks ago that the obvious big next target on silver would be a retest of the all-time high at 49.51, and we're now halfway to that from this broken resistance in the 39.40 area. We could go directly to it, but on the daily chart, we've again got possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing after the last one failed, I would note, and we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. We could see a retracement here. And I wouldn't be astonished to see it, although I would say I haven't really got anything in the way of patterns here. On Palladium, we've got no current divergence on the weekly chart. holding the weekly middle band, I would note. And on the daily chart, we are holding the daily middle band as well. Wondering about a retest this high here at 112.55, which we've almost made. On the platinum chart, we're actually seeing a retest this high, and this is giving us either a possible double top here, or we could break up over this trend line here, and this could be an IHS breaking up. And if that IHS does break up, it would have a target pretty close to a retest this high here at 22.90. It's not the nicest looking IHS in the world. Both of the shoulders would be very sort of fairly short and very, very thin. But nonetheless, it's a valid pattern. And I'm thinking this may deliver. If it does deliver, then I would be looking for, hang on, I need to write that in on this chart here, I think. So bear with me a moment. All right, let's draw an arrow. And this would be, that's the low on the IHS. So we'd be looking at an IHS which would get us pretty much, I think, slightly over a retest of the high, although the main target would be just the retest of the high. But if that's breaking up here, then that would have an extended target up there, and a main target, obviously, at the retest of the high, which should actually be here. It's a little oversized, but actually that's a valid IHS, and I'll be watching it with great interest if it does sustain a breakup. Until then, this is a pretty strong double resistance area, and I'm thinking it may hold. We shall see. Inflection point here. All right, looking at the, hang on, bear with me a moment. All right, looking at the weekly charts, we've now got an RSI 14 sell signal brewing and an RSI 5 sell signal brewing. We can push up through those, but it's a nice looking little double top here. On the daily chart, we've got nice looking little double top. RSI 14 sell signal fixed, which didn't make the target, and would be supporting it if we see a reversal back down. Looking at copper, it's a flag. And we're lost in space until that breaks down. When we do break down, I'll be looking for a trendline target in the 410 area next at this rising megaphone support from the 2022 low. Looking at GDX, we've also got negative divergence. We've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing here. We've got a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed on GDX daily chart, and a possible full-size sell signal brewing there too. We've got the same pretty much on GDXJ. These are some nice looking, the nicest looking sell signals we've seen in a while. Again, if it's really determined to go up, it's just going to go up through. But there is a possibility for a turn here. We will see how that develops. All right, let's have a look at nothing on the hourly charts, by the way, which is why I didn't mention them. Okay, looking at the bigger picture charts on the other commodities, KC is testing the monthly pivot now. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. I'm thinking that might well hold, but if not, we could just continue a slide downwards. SB. I've actually got, this is actually double bottom resistance as well, so we've got a potential triple nested double bottom here, and it's really, really nice. We're breaking up towards the first double bottom resistance, and I'm watching this with great interest. This could be a very significant low on sugar. Looking at cocoa, this is drifting down at the moment. Not seeing any compelling reason to think this doesn't continue to drift down, but we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. Might see a bit more of a rally, possible little IHS there. So watching it with interest. The bigger picture, I'm not seeing anything to disturb an overall downtrend. In terms of in terms of cotton, nice little rally up here on a buy signal. That buy signal has made target now, and we're testing resistance at the monthly pivot, which is holding so far. It may continue to hold. Our lumber, the buy signal finally made the possible near miss target. Could go higher. We've got a possible little double bottom here with resistance in about the 594 area. If we see a sustained breakup from that, we might have a shot at a test of the monthly pivot at 629.17. Looking at wheat, we've got a potential double bottom here. We had a buy signal that's made target. Hasn't broken up from the double bottom yet, but still on the cards, and watching that with interest. We've got a nice overall bottoming setup here on wheat and corn. Corn, we've got a little double top here which broke down. That's rejecting at the moment back up into the highs. We will see how that develops, but I'm thinking both wheat and corn may be making significant lows here. And on corn, I would mention that we've still got an open IHS target, which is up here in about the 441 area. Looking at soy, we broke down from a possible channel support. We've still got a possible falling megaphone here. I'm wondering whether it's bottoming out within that. We could be coming back in for a retest this low, set up a small double bottom, and we're currently on a buy signal. On ZL, we broke up from an IHS, we then fell back into the lows. 60-minute buy signal fixed, delivering a bit of a rally at the moment. Live cattle, we have a nice looking bear flag here, and that broke up. So I don't really have an alternate pattern, and we've got no current divergence at the moment, but I'm wondering about a possible retest of the high. On lean hogs, we had a possible head and shoulders forming that didn't deliver, and we're back up testing this resistance trend line here. Watching that resistance trend line, if that breaks, then we could go considerably higher. Both of these are still both in significant uptrends, so we'll see how that goes. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap apart from crypto. Now, I've done a post on crypto this morning, so check that out. But basically, where we are is this. We have reached a possible retracement low, or either we've reached a retracement low, or I'm thinking this is an ABC, which could take us considerably lower. So I've done all of the setups and the patterns and the targets on my post today. But just to recap quickly, we're holding the weekly middle band here, which is a big support level on Bitcoin. This could hold. If it does hold, then this is the retracement low, and then we're going to head straight up to 124.5k. The next obvious target on an hourly buy signal, we've got hourly buy signals currently fixed on Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. The next obvious target would be a backtest of the daily middle band, which I've got in the 114-150 area. If we get up through it, then I'd be looking for that high retest. If we fail there, then we've got an option of doing another leg down, which ideally would get us into this double top target in the 99-200k area. But I've got a couple of trend lines currently in the 103 and 106 area, which could possibly be bull flag support as well. All right, looking at Solana. Solana, obviously the sell signals made target on Monday, but we've got again, we've reached the 50 DMA, and we've made the little double top target, and this is a strong support level. We could make a low here, or I'm thinking we could see a rally again on an hourly buy signal, and then go down to the next obvious big support level, which would be the confluence here of the weekly middle band and the 50 DMA in the 80 area. Looking at Ethereum, reached a decent support level. We've got an early buy signal fixed as well. We've got a head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 3,500 area. I'm thinking either we get back up. All of these, I'm thinking we see a back test of the daily middle band. If we see a general break above, then we should see higher highs. If we see fails there, then the target on Ethereum would be this head and shoulder target here in the 3,500 area, which is supported by the weekly middle band, which is basically in the 3,500 area as well, currently at 3,478. So that's what I'm looking at, and that's a lot easier setup to be running than the one we're seeing on equities here, which is far, far cloudier. We will see how that goes, and I'll catch you guys again on Sunday. Everyone take care.